Hi, good morning, everyone. Hope you're off to a great weekend. It's Sean with Paycheck to Portfolio. Today, we're going to talk about 100% paycheck compounding and just how powerful the velocity of cash is when it comes to investing and how to expedite financial independence. We refer to that as FIRE, which stands for Financially Independent Retire Early. If you're new to my channel, all of my W 2 income rolls into a brokerage account instead of a traditional banking account. I invest in three buckets: long-term growth stocks and ETFs, closed-end funds, and high-yield funds. What that does is it snowballs my dividends month after month, year after year, which will essentially cover all of my living expenses and set me free from a 9-to-5 job. If you want to see that system in its entirety, I have multiple videos that show that step by step. First, I'm going to do a portfolio update like I do for every video. Currently, my net account value is sitting at $149,745 there, getting close to the $150,000 net account value. My total unrealized gains is at $39,000 or 14.6%, basically 14.7% there. It's been a good week in the market with the rate cut situation that happened earlier in the week. We had a 25 basis point reduction, and then obviously the market rallied on Thursday and Friday. So Friday I had a $984 gain. Looking down at performance, let's start at the year-to-date chart so we can look at that first. You can see currently I'm at 36.7% cumulative performance. The S&P is at 11.6. The Nasdaq's at 14.75. The Dow's at 7.7, and the Russell's at 9.1. On the one-year chart, I'm sitting at 51.5%. The S&P is at 16.8. The Nasdaq's at 26. The Dow's at 10, and the Russell's at 9.9%. And on the three-year chart, I'm getting close to 100% cumulative return. That's 95.6%. The S&P is at 63.8. The Nasdaq's at 86.8. The Dow's at 44, and the Russell's at 30. And what this takes into account is this is what we call time-weighted return. It does not account for any cash that's come into the account or any cash that's deducted. The only thing that this accounts for is the growth of the portfolio and any dividends received. Jumping into what I want to talk about today and compounding, I want to talk about Charlie Munger and a quote that's pretty famous that he mentions, coming out of the Berkshire Hathaway fund and investment group. He says, the first 100,000 is the hardest, but you have to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on 100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. And basically what Charlie's talking about here is the growth and compounding curve expedites after $100,000. So when you look at traditional compounding and growth, it works. The Warren Buffett, Charlie Mungers, Berkshire Hathaways, those are tried and true methods that work. And the way it works is the power of compounding. So if you were to invest $10,000 per year at 7%, and let's just say year one, you're at 10,000, year at 5, you would be at 57,500. And at year 8, you would be at 102,000, basically. You can see after 30 years how this could be well north of $1 million, but it takes almost a decade to get to six figures. That's why he stresses the point so much. In the paycheck to portfolio system, what I'm doing is taking a tried and true method of the power of compounding, and I'm expediting it, or I'm creating a high-octane system. So what I'm doing is I'm front-loading my paychecks. So taking an example starter portfolio here of $75,000 a year, and you'll see my portfolio, I currently get a blended yield of 16.2%, right around there, of dividend cash flow. And then I'm accounting for 7% growth because I own growth funds, closed-end funds, and high-yield funds. So sometimes I'll get comments saying, how are you going to get 16% dividends and 7% growth? It really is the blended portfolio that gives me the high-octane cash flow, the compounding, and the growth over time. So in this scenario, $75,000 would be expedited in 5 years to basically $597,000. And then at year 8, you're looking at north of $1.3 million. So you can see you can take a 30-year formula and expedite it if you front load your entire paycheck as opposed to investing the leftovers. If you look at a side-by-side comparison here, what I did is the traditional 10 years at 7% growth. So this is if somebody contributed $10,000 a year and they have the 7% growth. You can see after 5 years, they're sitting at $57,507. Now in column C, if you took a $75,000 a year portfolio that generated a blended yield of dividends at 16%, which is conservative because I have closed-end funds that drip at NAV. I'm not baking those into this calculation. I'm showing you a conservative projection. But if you have 16% blended yields on dividends and then your growth funds are appreciating at 7%, after 5 years, you're looking at $597,000. In my case, at 5 years, I'm looking at close to $1.8 million. Depending on which forward-looking projection I look at, it puts me between $1.3 million and $2 million. But I'm starting out at a gross portfolio value of $296,000. And as I just showed prior, my net account value is getting close to the $150,000 range. Again, that's because I'm floating my bills, but I'm still buying assets that I own and that I keep instead of spending to zero with my bills. They're being invested and fully loaded, and I still own those. So after 10 years, you can see traditional 10K investing at 7% puts you at $138,164 approximately. You look at the front-loaded 75K paycheck to portfolio method, you're looking at $2 million after 10 years. And my portfolio will be about $6 million if I work 10 years down the road. I'm trying to retire in 4 to 5 years personally. So where does this 16% come from? Again, I'll get comments going, I don't know how you're calculating this. I don't know how you're expecting to get that kind of growth. But again, I'm getting dividends and growth. So if you look at my annual projected dividends right now, which I'll transparently show you in E-Trade, it's putting me above $47,000 a year. Now, what E-Trade does is they take the last dividend payment by each payer, whether it's Round Hill, Defiance, Neos, there's multiple funds, and it projects that out over 12 months. So it will ebb and flow. My dividends sit between $47,000 and $52,000. So I'm averaging right now over $50,000 a year with the payouts. But just to keep my math current for what it currently shows, I wanted to show you how I'm getting this. So 16% is $47,656. And the fractional percent is going to be a little bit different here. But if you go to my brokerage account and you go to the estimated income tab, you'll see my actual estimated income projection. This is just dividends, doesn't include growth. That is where my 16% blended yield currently sits. And then, of course, I own growth and closed-end funds where I project 7%, which I believe is conservative. Again, if you go back to my portfolio and you look at my positions, I will just show you some of my positions. I own SPYG as my biggest holding. That's an S&P 500 growth ETF. That's up 61, almost 62% growth for me. McDonald's, almost 40% growth. Cornerstone, CLM, CRF, almost 17% in CLM, almost 15% getting close to in CRF. You can see some of the high yield funds, QQQI, SPYI, 16%, 13%. So my projections, I believe, are conservative on this. And I wanted to show you the power of compounding and what Charlie Munger was preaching in a traditional method works. I'm simply front loading that with my full paycheck, creating dividend velocity and cash flow from. And then over time, it's going to set me free from a 9-to-5 job and to allow me to live a fire lifestyle. If this has resonated with you and you would like additional resources, in the pinned comments, I always put resources that I have available. So you can go get the free starter kit, and it includes a simple FIRE calculator that you can punch in your own numbers. It's very simple, 5-year projection. You can enter zero in that. It's completely free. Or you can choose to donate. That's just a feature that Gumroad allows. So it's completely up to you, but it is a free item. You can book a one-on-one strategy call with me. That's a 30-minute call if you just want to touch base and talk through the system. We have a private Discord and membership with tools and a very robust community that's rapidly growing if you'd like to join that. And then I have a white glove setup and coaching. If you want to sit with me for an hour and a half and multiple other strategy calls and sessions, I'll go through my system with you in depth, and we can set up your system to mirror mine if that's what you would like to do. And those options are available to you. If you found this information useful, please like and subscribe, and please comment. I love the interaction. Also, if you download any of my kits here, it has my email on it. So feel free to reach out to me. Love talking to everyone. We're all in the same rat race, essentially, trying to live free and to spend more time serving, for me in church and spending time with my family. And we're all running the same race, and hopefully we'll all run it together to win. Hope this has been useful. We'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great day. Bye.